I know that Mandy and Johnny, didn't you guys get together and go see something of Wes's? Wasn't it Last House on the Left?
Yeah, I guess it was.
But I think I worked way more than any of these people on the film. If I can only emphasize that I worked every day, and I was going to college.
She was going to college at the same time.
But these folks were like partying, and they never invited me. I mean, I'm telling you, like they never invited me to their parties.
Okay, the biggest party we went to was Heather and I when we wrapped and we went to Robert's apartment in Malibu.
I know we did, but that wasn't really even a party.
That wasn't a party, it was just us. We crashed his apartment. He was like, "What are you guys doing here?" We're like, "Hi, we came to see where you live."
All the studios wanted this movie. Bob Shea was the only one that took a chance on it, and that's why we have what we have tonight. That's why we have all the sequels. That's why we have Freddy Krueger. So big round of applause to Bob Shea as well. All right, enough of me rambling. Let's get our guests down here, guys. What do you say? Yeah? Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Wyss and Heather Langenkamp. Come on down. We're here at the Big Chinese. Did you guys get to come? I was just wondering if you guys remember like your opening night kind of memories or your premiere or anything like that. If you remember.
Okay, there was not one.
No, there wasn't.
Was there? Was I not invited? Okay, wait. There was a tiny little screening.
There was a tiny screening at Warner Brothers. There was too many people for the room. And
I got kicked out. I was late, and so the premiere was there. It was at Warner Brothers,
no, we
and
weren't allowed in because the fire marshal said there were too many.
we got kicked out. The two leads of the film, we were not there because they were like, "It's too crowded. You guys have to leave." And I was like, "But I'm one of the leads." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't care."
So we snuck in, and we sat in the aisle on the stairway so that we could see the movie at the little Warner Brothers screening room that they had it, because it was, I guess, it was a last minute idea that you can have this screening, yeah.
That's sad. It should have been a bigger deal, but it clearly wasn't.
Low budget.
Very low budget.
Low budget.
Did you have better seats tonight?
Oh, we had the best seats tonight. Yeah. And you guys are so amazing.
You know, we don't get a chance to see it on the big screen that often, so this was a real treat. Thank you. And I hope you all enjoyed it. It was so beautiful.
You both said that neither of you were really horror fans before this. You weren't like going to every screening and all that stuff. Did you guys even know who Wes was? Did you have any familiarity with him? And if, either way, what was your first impression of him?
Well, first of all,
I mean, the only movies he had directed was Last House on the Left, I think. I mean, and maybe
Hills Have Eyes.
Hills Have Eyes. People on the Stairs was later.
later.
Swamp Thing, yeah. So we didn't see these movies, did we, Mandy?
No, but I need to say that we were like 18, and so just so you know that. Yeah, that even if he had done all these other bigger things, we were children. But that said, we did, like, I remember when we when Heather and I auditioned, we auditioned together, and Wes Craven. She did in the audition. So we just auditioned together, and I remember talking to Wes, and I was like, I've never actually seen a horror film, but I've read horror novels, and the script, by the way, read like the best horror novel that you would ever read in your entire life. And so we talked about that. But then Heather, it was true. It was like so amazing. And so Heather and I read together, and the fun thing was it didn't matter because he wanted people that you would feel for, that understood what we were doing, and it didn't matter whether it was horror or comedy or thriller or...
But do you remember that he told us in the audition that we got the part?
Which never happens, by the way.
And it was both of us.
Yeah.
So we were sitting side by side on a little chair in Hollywood on, what was the street that we were on?
It was somewhere like I want to say like Cahuenga, but it wasn't Cahuenga.
No, it wasn't Cahuenga, it was worse. It was Hollywood and the worst. No, it was like, I put one of those devices on my wheel. I mean, my steering wheel, so it wouldn't be stolen. The club. I had a club.
That's the club. Because I was like, it'll never be.
There was not one chair in the casting office. We all sat on the floor. And the casting director brought us in, and there was a chair in the office. And we sat next to each other, side by side. Wes was there, and Annette Benson was there. And Amanda and I did such a killer audition. I'll never forget it, because we were so keyed in. And it was the scene where Johnny's on the,
The boom box.
on the boom box at the, trying to convince his aunt that he's at the airport, basically. And we're laughing, and then we give that speech, and we go,
Heather sold it with that.
and I do think I sold it with
She
that,
did
because
sell it.
after that audition, Wes said, "You've got the part." And he did. He said it right there in front of both of us.
In the audition, which by the way has
Never happened.
never happened. And he had also said when we were auditioning, he said he wanted to bring the voice in. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, like whatever. Like I don't even know what that means. And then he brought in, but he'd already picked Johnny and Jesus.
Right.
So the four of us did an improv at the end that.
It was just fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
But he'd already kind of picked us, I think. But at the end of the audition, he told Heather and I that we had the parts, and that has never
Ever happened.
in the room. Like he.
It just so rarely happens.
Yeah,
So,
he picked us.
but I had never seen a horror movie except for Burnt Offerings, which is my favorite movie because it's the first one I saw.
Freaking awesome.
And horror was a big part of my life. It was and it was a part of your life.
No, the scariest movie I'd seen till then was, I'd seen The Ghost and Mrs. Chicken, or Mr. Chicken, The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. But I'd read a bunch of horror. So actually when I met Wes for the first time, I was like, I don't really understand, I don't know much about acting horror, but I've read all these books, and he's like, first of all, I don't want people that know about acting horror, because there's no such thing. He's like, that's not even a thing. Like, I just want you to be who you are. And but I had seen what's the one with oh my God, where she's blind and they're like the drug dealers are. Oh my God. My older sister took me to her high school. They showed it in the cafeteria. I was in the 4th grade. I freaked out. I was like, this is the scariest thing I've ever seen. And so that's what I told Wes. I was like, the scariest moment of my entire life at 8 was Wait Until Dark. And he's like, yes.
And I was like, we're like made for each other.
Your school was awesome.
I know. Our school, we were in a progressive art school, and so they were like all about like scaring the shit out of each other. So I was like, I didn't even know. And then the first theater jobs I did
did as a young child, like my first play was The Innocents, and then the second play was The Bad Seed, and then I got Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I was just like destined to like scare the shit out of people.
You mentioned the casting place was scary, but for you, the scariest part of filming was an old prison or something that they used for the
Oh, yeah, seeing it tonight, wow, it was so scary. All those pipes, a lot of pipes.
Lincoln Heights Jail, right? The Lincoln Heights Jail in Boyle Heights? I think, Lincoln Heights. Oh, duh, Lincoln Heights Jail. Whatever! I know, I'm going to say Boyle Heights. Why were we in Boyle Heights? All right, you know what? Heather and I were in Boyle Heights, but the jail was in Lincoln Heights.
In the olden days, we had a Thomas guide. We would have to find all our locations on this
By ourselves on these
87.
maps.
And at Nightmare on Elm Street, we had cemeteries and old jails and freaking old like elementary schools that had weird basements, weird places on that.
And we were like 18, by the way. So like all you parents out there, we were driving around scary at the middle of the night trying to figure out where to find these creepy old places to film this movie. So like they would just say it's 8:34 on the Thomas guide. And we would like drive out there and we'd be like in tears, like, I don't know where I am, but I'm really scared. And the boiler room of that jail, so the places we shot, which you shot as well, for like all the boiler room scenes, they were in the Lincoln Heights jail, and it was literally an incredibly scary place that all the crew did not want to walk by themselves. Everyone was in pairs, and people were not going anywhere by themselves. It was incredibly hair-raising and scary. So I think that adds to the ambiance of Freddy.
It was scary. Yeah.
When you're running up the stairs and you get what is that?
We get like
Oatmeal?
trapped in the
Oh,
oatmeal of the steps.
Yeah. Do you remember what that stuff was made out of?
It was made out of cream of mushroom soup, I believe, and oatmeal and some cellulose powder, something like that. But it was really gross.
Was it really? I mean,
It was really sticky,
but that's
very
not acting,
sticky,
right? You're really sticky.
and effective. And yeah, bring it on. I love that shit. All of you in your garages making your low budget iPhone movies, it works great. Cream of mushroom soup, oatmeal, and some kind of cellulose cream that like globs it together, like globs.
I know you don't get too much screen time with him, but talk about Robert and working with him.
Robert is a sad human being. No joy. He's so reserved.
Somebody asked if you're
He doesn't know how to express himself.
No story.
He's so shy.
Somebody asked me.
He's reserved.
I said, no, I want them to speak. Like, Robert will talk the entire time.
Someday, maybe Robert will find that voice inside of himself. Allow him to get out. This fantastic view of the world. Up until now, Amanda and I have been really struggling to find a way to bring out his personality. It's a challenge, and we're doing a staged reading, a live reading of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 at the Whiskey A Go-Go on September 8th. I hope all of you who love Robert Englund will look it up. It's on Eventbrite. And he's reading his part live, like scratching fingernails, all this. And it's going to be amazing. We're raising money for the D.D. Hirsch Foundation, which helps it brings mental health services to teenagers all over the country. And it's a group that we feel like is especially important today, with, when you think of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, you think of all those teenagers who had all those, delusions of grandeur going into the television set, right? And we're really hoping that a lot of people will come and help us support the D.D. Hirsch Foundation on that night.
This is donated to the cause right here.
Yay! But I just see in this movie, Robert Englund is hardly in it. Like, why do you care about him? I don't think you care. I mean, he's like in it for 6 minutes or less. So,
Robert Englund is. The thing that I think is crazy is that Robert Englund is actually in it less than I am in the movie. And I don't know, I just think that's interesting. But I do love that when people talk about horror, people, as a rule, that write horror or think about horror, which, by the way, that is a gorgeous painting. That's amazing. Thank you so much. It's amazing because this reading and the foundation that it's going to is really spectacular and important and something that we all believe in. All right.
Well, speaking of Dream Warriors, the movie takes place like 10 years later because you're like a grad school student.
Right.
Did you ever come up? You don't get to really go into much about like where Nancy was during all that time. Did you ever come up with that for yourself?
Isn't that so mysterious?
Yeah.
Where was she?
That was the first one I saw, so it meant nothing to me.
So this is so what I think is that Nancy woke up out of the dream from Nightmare 1, realizing that Freddy still lived. So that whole thing where she got kidnapped by the Cadillac, she ends up waking up from that dream and realizing she needs to stay awake. So she goes to college and starts to study dream psychology, becomes very good in her field, and then they think she's terrific, and she is hired at this center for teenage, mental health, suicide prevention. And then she comes in and helps Craig Wasson help these children. That is my backstory. But I don't know if that's true.
You say it's true.
No one else says it.
All I care about is that my shoulder pads were quite large. And that means I have more importance in the storyline.
Not as important as my pantyhose in my gym shorts in Nightmare 1.
They're equal. Pantyhose versus shoulder pads. It's worth looking into. Yes.
Amanda, what was worse for you, the whatever guy roding in the room or the body bag?
Oh yeah. Or the centipede.
Oh, the centipede.
Or the worms I had to hold. Okay, Heather and I think it's the body bag. No, you know what? I have to say it actually was the body bag because literally it was a low budget movie. They got a body bag from a morgue. They brought it to the set and it was used. We were very poor. Somebody poked a few little holes around, like they laid me in it and sort of zipped it up, and then they poked a few holes around my nose, and then they zipped it up. And I was like, wait, this does not seem like really like the right thing that we should be doing. And I remember Wes going, I can see you breathing. And I'm like, because I'm alive. I'm not dead. And so I finally was like, I need to know that if I need to get out, somebody's going to come and get me. And they're like, well, if you just like lift your hands up, and I'm like, what in the bag? I'm like,
Remember they had the insect wranglers, like with the, they had these insect wranglers with the centipedes, and they were like getting them to come out of her mouth. It was so gross. So you had a fake head.
I did have a fake head.
Yeah, so they had the fake head.
Fake head. But it had a real,
Ugh.
I had the undulating fake one in my real face, and then the real centipede in the fake face.
Face? Right. It
And
was
so when I was in
disgusting.
the body bag, 100% real me in the bag. And so even when they dragged away in that hall scene, that was me, and with like 300-pound tuna line, and there was like 3 guys that like were deep sea fishermen, and like dragged me away, and people like, "Was that was you?" I was like, "Yeah, because it was me." But there was like literally 3 holes for my nostrils, and I was.
It was disgusting.
It was disgusting. And it was like one of those things, okay, I've jumped out of airplanes before, but right before you jump out
Being in a body
Has
bag is
anybody
really
jumped
gross.
out of an airplane, gone skydiving? All right. You know that last minute before you jump out, your body goes, not a great idea. All right. I totally get you.
Same with the body bag.
With the body bag, when they zip you up, you're like, not a great idea.
No, Amanda was such a great trooper. See, I didn't have to do any of that shit. I just had to look scared. And she had to do all the shit. And she had to look good in a body bag. She had to look good being mutilated on the ceiling. She had to look good in underwear and pantyhose. She had to look good all the time, and I got off so easy. So I just always hand all
Saved me, and that's why
kudos
we're
to Mandy because she was doing the heavy lifting.
But
Yeah.
that's why we're still friends, because it's Tina and Nancy.
One thing that's really fun about watching this on the big screen, you notice so much of the backgrounds that you don't really notice
Yeah.
on the TV.
And Greg
The
Fonseca.
set design of this movie
Yeah.
is fantastic.
That's
Just
Greg
wondering-
Fonseca, production production designer, so genius. Everything,
Did
everything.
you steal anything from
Oh,
it? Did you
I
keep
wish.
anything? You still
I
have
wish
it?
I had.
did.
No, the one I want to steal, and is a little sheep. A little sheep head in the back of my room with the 2 little, the headband with the 2, what do you call them, like antenna. It's in the room, and you only see it if you watch the movie a million times, like me. It's the cutest thing ever, and I wish I had that. But I didn't save anything except my pajamas.
I
Yeah.
wish I'd taken the cross.
And the cross I would have loved to
I
have.
would love the cross.
That's such an important
I have
moment.
a
Yeah.
cross by my front door.
Yeah.
Like some weird
random thing, and people have said, like, is that from Nightmare on Elm Street? I'm like, no. Just like Luke. I know. I'm like, no. It's just like, it's like my grandmother's cross. But I'm like, I'm gonna start telling people, yeah, it's from my cross from Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
I was raised Catholic, so I had, the parents put one
Because
up.
we all
Yeah,
have
we don't
one
have a
over.
choice.
1, 2, grab your
We
crucifix.
don't have a choice.
So it was on the wall like the one in the movies behind the bed. One morning I woke up, the wall across had bubbles all over it, like big bubbles. I'm like, what? I had they're on the wrong wall, but it was just water damage. Guys, you have a few questions. I saw your hand first, sir.
Me?
Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. And how's your perspective of the movie changed over the last 35 years, from when you first saw it to now?
Okay, I really liked it the first time I saw it at this bootleg showing that we got kicked out of. So we had to watch it sitting on the floor in the hallway. I knew it was a great movie because it was so real. Like everything that the kids were doing was real and the parents were real. Everything was real to me. And today when I watched it, and when was the last time we watched it together? Like maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It doesn't age much. I mean, it seems so real. Like those kids seem like kids I know. And I think that's a tribute to Wes Craven. He had such a gift for trying to make things real. And I think the best thing for me is honoring, I mean, I love Freddy Krueger so much. I just love his evil and the way he's able to like enter our subconscious even today in this modern world where we're all so sophisticated and we have all these machines that help us, you know, master the world. Yet Freddy Krueger still comes and like enters our subconscious and enters our dreams and makes us scared. And I don't know how Wes did that. How did he figure out how to make a monster that could transcend technology and transcend everything through our dreams? I just feel like he's like really given us some kind of amazing treat. And whether people love horror or hate it, they can acknowledge that Freddy Krueger was some kind of gift for the ages and kind of a present for all of us.
Yeah. Heather, can you tell the story of when some of the cast got together and rented one of Wes's prior films?
You know, I never saw one of Wes's prior films. I heard that he did a movie called Last House on the Left from Robert when we first got together. And I said, well, how am I going to see this movie? He's like, you can only see it at a bar in Hollywood, like at midnight. And I was like, well, that's not going to happen. And so I never have seen Last House on the Left. And I know that Mandy and Johnny, didn't you guys get together and go see something of Wes's? Wasn't it Last House on the Left?
I guess it was.
But I think I worked way more than any of these people on the film. If I can only emphasize that I worked every day, and I was going to college.
She was going to college at state.
But these folks were like partying, and they never invited me. I mean, I'm telling you, like they never invited me to their parties.
Okay, the biggest party we went to was Heather and I when we wrapped and we went to Robert's apartment in Malibu.
I know we did, but that wasn't really even a party.
That wasn't a party. It was just us. We crashed his apartment. And he was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we're like, "Hi, we came to see where you live." I know. I have to say, like when I first got Nightmare on Elm Street, as I already said, like I hadn't really seen any horror films, and I knew when I went to read for Wes, because when we all the girls that read for Nightmare on Elm Street, we all read for Nancy, and our initial audition, and then then he sorted us out, and he picked Heather and I, and Bimbo, hi, and then I read with Nancy, and he cast us in the room. But I was talking to Wes, and I was like, I've never actually seen a horror film, but I've read a lot of horror, and I didn't know his other movies. But when I talked to him, he was just so avuncular and professorial all at the same time. And he was like, he didn't care. He was like, I don't want somebody that knows horror. Like he's like, I love that you know these horror novels. And
yeah, he really didn't care.
He didn't care. He didn't want that.
He didn't care about.
He wanted storytelling. Like so, he wanted us to be able to. And I learned from Wes, and I already said this, but that the best horror is intrinsically sad. That it's a story that grabs at your heart and makes you reflect upon your own life or your own losses or your own places in your life that you want to do better or whatever. It's true horror reflects upon our sadness. And Nightmare on Elm Street, the first 20 minutes of that movie is like one of the saddest movies ever made, really. Like all these latchkey kids that don't have parents that care about him, and a girl who's dying for 20 minutes and nobody notices. And but there's things like that, and I think Wes, like that was one of the things like with Wes, like when we would talk, he was like a true auteur in the sense of filmmaking or heart rending.
They never said the word horror.
Never, ever.
They never said the
Ever.
word slasher ever once on set. I never even knew that we were really making that kind of movie until your death scene. And then it was like, oh my God, this is so sad and scary. And
like it was done in a heartfelt, like a true loss of a parent losing their child. Like he didn't look at things as a slasher or horror. He looked at it as this is an emotional roller coaster of people's lives told within the genre of this thing. And so I think that's why people feel so much when they watch the movie.
yeah, and it's what's lacking, when you're not willing to actually face the sadness of those parents who, knew they were failing their kids. Like John Saxon and Ronnie Blakely knew they were failing. They were losers. But they knew they were losers.
They knew it, but they blamed it sort of on other things.
Yeah.
But they were terrible parents.
All along the way, and that's what Wes wanted to say.
Now, like that glitch and being a loser parent. Well, maybe not quite that loser, but
They were losers.
they were.
And I'm just thinking, like, oh yeah, I did leave my kid here. But like, tonight, come here.
Where's your child?
You can't say you left your kid to go swimming, and then you came here. Like,
His mom with him. He's fine, I'm sure.
All right, good.
A couple more. Yeah, right there.
So what's your favorite moment from the original Nightmare on Elm Street that each one of you can share?
Wow, sing it
Favorite
tonight.
moment from the movie.
New favorite moments. I mean, I loved the moment when Nancy is talking to her dad. That's a powerful moment when she's like, I know who's trying to kill us kind of moment. I also love the really quiet moments when she's putting her mom to bed. Like, it's so sad. Like she's become the mom and the mom is the baby now.
That's why it's more than just a horror film.
I love the moment on the bridge where she says, I'm into survival. I love that moment even more now.
Yeah.
Because it's like tossed off. Like, she's serious about it, but she knows he'll never take it seriously. Like the way that you're with your boyfriend and you say something that means something to you, but he's not that into it. And it's like kind of that moment where you have to realize you have to stand up for the thing you want, but they're not going to follow you.
Yeah.
And then they die.
And then they die. Like that's a great moment. And then one in the boiler room where the mom's saying, we did this bad thing.
That was amazing.
And then she's like, what did you do, Mom? And she's like, yeah, we killed this guy. I mean, these moments, it never occurred to me before, but tonight they really did. And so because I'm older and because I have a daughter and I'm more like Marge probably than Nancy now. I mean, maybe I am. I don't know. I had a big glass of wine. I'm not drinking vodka tonight, but I did drink a Chardonnay. But as you get older, you're like, you see as you get older, you see John Saxon, really tugged at my heartstrings. He's very old and he has Alzheimer's now. And so, seeing him in that beautiful moment with Nancy, it's all so different, as you grow older and watch this movie, every moment has a different kind of effect on you. And I appreciate it so much. And, Wes was probably 45 or 40 when he made this movie, so I'm older than Wes was when he made this movie. It's really amazing to think that it affects people of all ages on different levels. Like the mom when she says, oh, Nancy, Glenn's, whatever, that when they answer the phone and Glenn's gonna die in 5 minutes, and go to bed, and I identify with a parent. I don't identify with Nancy anymore. I'm like, those parents are fucked up, but I totally get why they're doing that, And so, as you age, you see this movie in so many different ways, and that's just the genius of it, you know?
It's one thing about this series compared to, say, the Friday the 13th, which is like your sort of rival throughout the 80s. That, you know, there's always a funeral scene in these movies. The
Yeah.
parents are always there. You always kind of
Yeah.
get the
Sad.
loss, the sadness that the Friday the 13th never really, you know, and I love those movies. They never
Yeah.
really deal with like, oh, this is kind of.
Wes loved the funeral scenes. We had lots of funeral scenes. We went to many graveyards in Los Angeles just to film these scenes. And only in retrospect do I realize Wes wanted everyone to understand that the opposite of horror is grief. Grief is actually a very important part of horror, and if you are not capable of experiencing grief, then you're not experiencing horror to its fullest. Like, you need to experience both sides extremely fully to be a human being.
All right, we got time for one more. I'm going to go with the guy waving the Chucky doll in the back, 'cause that's just kind of amazing.
First off, thank you from the bottom of all our hearts. And at the risk of speaking for a lot of people here, I mean, this series has been an institution for all of us. For you, for either of you, when did you realize that this, like, holy shit, this is it? When did you realize that your work, the ensemble work, was in and of itself valuable?
Tonight. All of the fans make us feel it often, but I don't know, Mandy. How are we gonna like express it?
Okay, both Heather and I tonight were like, wow, we kind of saw this for the first time through different eyes tonight, don't we? Am I speaking out of turn? Yeah, Heather was like, we're watching this for the first time, and it was magical, and it was amazing, and you all made us feel so happy and loved. But forget us about it, just the movie. You guys made the movie feel so loved, and it was
10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't remember, but just I hear stories by people so frequently that validate our efforts, not only in. We worked hard making this movie. I mean, we wanted it to be good. I mean, we wanted it to be great.
We were
And
serious about like telling this story because Wes wanted us to be serious.
we
about
weren't
telling this
cynical or all. We were really invested. So the fact that it came across on screen, I mean, when you see Mandy's face in the opening scenes, I mean, it's heartbreaking. I mean, she's just so innocent and in her little nightie. And she's just like sitting there. And I remember like the pantyhose, like having to wear pantyhose.
Okay, wait a minute.
And I was like, she was so torn about that.
Okay, wait a minute. Pantyhose.
So, in those gym shorts where I wore my striped shirt tucked in, which is interesting, I had on pantyhose. Now, just so you know, everyone did that in the 80s. So when I look back, I had on pantyhose, white gym shorts, and a pink and white striped shirt tucked in. It was like literally my best wardrobe ever.
I just feel like we've known for a while that this movie is special to people. But
Absolutely. It's
every
special to
time we
us.
have a chance like this, it's really, it sinks in even a little farther or further. What is the word? Further. And what's really beautiful is that you will introduce this movie to someone else. I don't know, it'll be a nephew, or it'll be a grandmother, or it'll be a grandson. It'll be somebody. You will say, this is a great movie.
Third generation.
And third or fourth.
I'm like, I'm third generation, and like, God bless you.
But if this movie has a message for you, then it will have a message for someone else as well. And I can see why Nancy is important. I can see why Tina is such a great character. Glenn and Rod and even Marge is a great character. They're great. They're an iconic character that we can all explain our own existences by, and we can all strive to be like, or we can strive to be not like. But there's something about this movie that's really touched so many people, and I can see why tonight.
All right.
All right. Another round of applause for Heather and Amanda. Ladies and gentlemen, please stay in your seats for a sec. They gotta get to their car, so if you can please just stay in your seats so we can get them out to their car as quick as possible. Really appreciate it if you can do that for us. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Of course, you see on the screen behind me, the Screamfest, the festival is coming up October 8th. So please like the Facebook page, keep an eye on the website. They'll be announcing the movies that are going to be playing soon. We'll hopefully have another Fears and Beers for you soon. Thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate. Drive safe, sleep well, take your Hypnosil.